Hello everyone. You're watching sqadia.com and today our lecture topic is the brain and we are on the second section of this lecture topic, that is we will be discussing the hindbrain. What will be, as you know, that the hindbrain is mainly composed of two things, the medulla oblongata and the pons, and we will be discussing how the medulla oblongata and pons form a conduit for all the structures which are actually coming right from the forebrain and going towards the spinal cord, how they connect spinal cord with the midbrain as well as the fibers. We will be also briefly discussing the decussation of pyramids, that is the major motor decussation which occurs at the level of the pyramids and medulla oblongata, and why it is called the decussation pyramids, what is actually clinical implication of this, and what happens if this is damaged, and what happens with the little corticospinal tract is damaged. The brainstem is made up of medulla oblongata and pons. The brainstem has three broad functions. It serves as a conduit for ascending tracts and descending tracts, connecting the spinal cord to the different parts of the higher centers in the forebrain. It contains important reflex centers associated with the control of respiration and cardiovascular system with control of consciousness. Actually, it has a lot of nuclei in the medulla oblongata which are actually directly controlling the respiration. There are other nuclei which are actually controlling the heart rate as well as minute to minute beat in our body. And then there are reticular fibers which are actually directly have a role in the role of consciousness of the brain and in our sleep patterns as well. It contains the important nuclei of the cranial nerves as well, that is from 3 to 12 as well. There are other cranial nerves which are actually going from which is nuclei are present in the brainstem and they arise from the brainstem eventually. Now this is the diagram which is actually depicting the some part of the hindbrain. As you can appreciate now, it forms a conduit, as this is the spinal cord, this is the main forebrain, then there's the midbrain, and all these fibers which are arising over here in the motor cortex eventually go through the hindbrain to reach the spinal cord. And hindbrain is mainly divided into myelencephalon and metencephalon. Metencephalon is formed by the cerebellum mainly, but myelencephalon is formed by the pons and medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata connects the pons superiorly with the spinal cord inferiorly. The medulla oblongata is a conical shape, its broad extremity being directed superiorly, assuming it's basically an inverted cone. Instead of having a cone lying like this, instead it's lying the other way around. The central canal of the spinal cord continues upward in the lower half of the medulla. In the upper half of the medulla, it expands at the cavity of the fourth ventricle. Now remember, this is for the purpose of understanding. Actually, all these structures are connected to each other in form of long fibers. If we view it dorsally, that is, just remove the cerebral hemispheres and just view the hindbrain, when we viewing the anterior surface of the medulla oblongata, we see some different structures which are present on the surface of the medulla oblongata. On the anterior surface of the medulla, there is an anterior median fissure which is continuous inferiorly with the anterior median fissure of the spinal cord. On each side of the median fissure, there is a swelling called as the pyramids. The pyramids are composed of nerve bundles of nerve fibers called corticospinal fibers. These are actually those fibers which have arisen in the motor cortex. They have all the way come down into this level from forebrain. They've gone across the midbrain, then eventually reach the hindbrain. And at the level of decussation of the pyramid, at this level actually these decussate. Decussation means going towards the opposite end. That is, those fibers which have arisen from the right cerebral cortex will eventually go and synapse toward the left side of half of the body. And those which have arisen from the left side are eventually going to synapse to the right side of the right half of the spinal cord. What actually happens is, when we say that our right side of the brain is controlling the left side of the body, because of this reason, because due to decussation of pyramids, eventually the fibers which arise on the right side eventually land up and synapse to the left side, while those which have arisen on the left side eventually synapse on the right side. So actually our right half of the body is controlled by the left side of our brain, and right side of the brain actually controls the left half of the body. The anterior external arcuate fibers are few nerve fibers that emerge from the anterior median fissure above the decussation and part laterally over the surface of medulla oblongata to enter into the cerebellum. Now, there are three cerebellar peduncles: superior, middle, and inferior. Inferior cerebellar peduncle connects cerebellum with the hindbrain, that is pons and the medulla oblongata. Cerebellum is connected with the midbrain via the superior cerebellar peduncle, while pons is connected to the cerebellum via middle cerebellar peduncle. Now this is the diagram which is showing these are the pons above, and we all know that it's actually a single structure, but for the purpose of understanding we divide them in such a way so that they can be understood. This is the anterior median fissure. These are the pyramids. These are where the decussation of pyramids would occur. That fiber will cross over to this side, and the fibers from this side will cross over to this side. These you can appreciate very well that these are nerve fibers which are actually the nuclei are present in the medulla oblongata. There is a which are actually arising over here. There is a hypoglossal nerve which arises, accessory nerve as well, and then there are nuclei of the vagus nerve as well, and glossopharyngeal as well. Now these four accessory, hypoglossal, vagus, and glossopharyngeal actually arise at the two different levels of the medulla oblongata. Coming to the posterior surface, when we view the undersurface of the medulla oblongata, the anterior external arcuate fibers are the few nerve fibers that emerge from the anterior median fissure, as we have already discussed, and pass laterally with the surface of the medulla and enter the cerebellum. Posterior to the olives are the inferior cerebellar peduncles, which connect medulla to the cerebellum. The posterior surface of the inferior half of the medulla is continuous with the posterior aspect of the spinal cord and possesses a posterior median sulcus, which is actually present in the spinal cord as well. On the anteriorly, there is anterior median fissure. On posterior, there is posterior median sulcus. Now you can appreciate this is the posterior median sulcus, which actually continues with the posterior median sulcus of the spinal cord. Now there are two actually tubercles, which one is called the gracile tubercle, other is called cuneate tubercle. Why it is called this? Because there are different nuclei present. There is this nucleus cuneatus, which is present in the cuneate tubercle, and there is nucleus gracilis that is present on the undersurface of the gracile tubercle. The fibers arising from these nuclei actually also run down into the spinal cord. On each side of the median sulcus, there is elongated swelling, as I just said, gracile tubercle, which is produced by underlying gracile nucleus or nucleus gracilis. To the gracile tubercle is similar swelling, the cuneate tubercle, produced by underlying cuneate nucleus, are also called as nucleus cuneatus. The fasciculus gracilis, fasciculi are always the fibers. The fasciculus gracilis and the fasciculus cuneatus, which arises from the nucleus cuneatus and nucleus gracilis, continues to ascend superiorly and posterior to the central gray matter. So now the medulla oblongata is finished. Just above to the medulla oblongata are the pons. Then pons can also be viewed grossly from anterior as well as inferior surface. If you see the gross surface on the anteriorly, the pons is anterior to the cerebellum and connects the medulla oblongata to the midbrain. The anterior surface is convex from side to side and shows many transverse fibers that converge on each side to form a midline cerebellar peduncle. Pons are connected to the cerebellum via middle cerebellar peduncle. There is a shallow groove in the midline. This is called as the basilar groove, and why it is important? Because basilar artery runs through this basilar groove. On the anterolateral surface of the pons, there is a trigeminal nerve which emerges on each side. Each nerve consists of a smaller medial part known as motor root and a large lateral part known as sensory root. Now we all know the trigeminal nerve is a mixed nerve, that it contains the motor as well as sensory fibers. There are four different nuclei of the trigeminal nerve. The motor nucleus and the one sensory nucleus is actually arising from the pons, but then the other nuclei also will be discussed later. In the groove between the pons and the medulla oblongata, they emerge from the medial to lateral. There are other nerves as well. There is an abducent nerve, facial and vestibulocochlear nerves which are actually emerging. I will just show it you in the diagram. Now if you see this was basically the anterior surface of the medulla oblongata. This was the anterior median fissure, and this was decussation of the pyramids. Now this is the pons, on this is the structure, and this is the basilar groove, which is for the basilar artery. On the lateral surface, laterally, you can appreciate there is a large sensory nucleus and a small motor nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. And there's a groove between the medulla oblongata and the pons, and there are other nerves actually arising from it. From medial to lateral, most medially lies the abducent nerve, then lies the roots of the facial nerve, and most laterally lies the vestibulocochlear nerve. If you see it, the pons from the posterior aspect are in the lower surface or under surface. The posterior surface of the pons is hidden from view from the cerebellum. The posterior surface is limited laterally by superior cerebellar peduncles and is divided into symmetrical half by median sulcus, which is actually continuous with the median sulcus of the medulla oblongata, and which is then again continuous with the median sulcus of the spinal cord. Lateral to the sulcus is an elongated elevation. The medial eminence, which is bounded laterally with sulcus, called the sulcus lamentans. The inferior end of the medial eminence is slightly expanded to form a facial colliculus. And this is actually, facial colliculus is this elevation in which contains the nuclei for the facial nerve. The floor of the superior to the sulcus lamentans is the bluish gray in color and called substantia ferruginea. An exact function of this substantia ferruginea actually contains a lot of cells which are very darkly appearing nuclei, but exact function is not known. Little sulcus lamentans is area of the vestibuli produced by underlying vestibular nucleus. If you appreciate on the posteriorly, there are actually elevations which are formed by the facial colliculus, which contains the nucleus of the facial nerve, and then a vestibular colliculus, which contains the nucleus of the vestibular nerve. And this is the diagram. Now this is the inferior view of the medulla oblongata. You can appreciate well, almost medulla oblongata ends over here. This is the inferior cerebellar peduncle. This is the middle cerebellar peduncle, which is connecting pons to the cerebellum. And this is the central median sulcus, which continues into the medulla oblongata, then into the spinal cord. These are the two elevations. This is the facial colliculus, which contains the nuclei of the facial nerve. Just lateral to that are the vestibular area or vestibular colliculus, where this contains the nuclei of the vestibular nerve. These are two important nerves which actually arise from the pons. As I just told you, there's a very important decussation which occurs. A transverse section from the inferior half of the medulla oblongata passes through the decussation of the pyramids, the great motor decussation. In the superior part of the medulla, the corticospinal fibers occupy and form the pyramid, but inferiorly about 3/4 of the fiber cross the median plane and continue down the spinal cord in the lateral wide column and form a lateral corticospinal tract. As why this is important, because this is the main motor decussation, and this is the reason. If this tract is damaged, and if there's damage on the right side, the affected body would go with the left half of the body. But if the left side is damaged, the affected part would be the right half of the body. In this section, we have discussed the hindbrain mainly. We have discussed the different levels of medulla oblongata, what is the gross structure of medulla oblongata, anterior and posterior structures of pons, and we have briefly discussed upon the decussation of pyramids and its clinical importance. Keep watching sqadia.com. Thank you very much.